Hello. For today's ELA lesson, we're going to still be talking about comparing and contrasting. Comparing, we're looking for similarities, and contrasting, we're looking for differences. So I have two stories today. The first one I'm sure most of you have read before, and that's The Three Little Pigs. And we're going to look at similarities with the Three Little Pigs versus this is the true story of the Three Little Pigs. And I don't know how many of you have read this before, so I'm going to read this one to you. I'm sure most of you have read this story. Okay, so let's listen and see at the end if we can compare and contrast my two stories. Okay, the true story of the Three Little Pigs. Everyone knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. No one knows the real story because no one has ever asked my side of the story. I am the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies, sheeps, and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were big and bad too. But like I said, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. So it says this is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold and I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar from my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? That whole straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner just lying there in the straw, so I ate him up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just laying there. I was feeling a bit better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the doorbell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving my hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, you know food will spoil if you leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing that there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better and still didn't have that cup of sugar from my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and the second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family because he had built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little pig said? Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup from my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, and you and your granny can sit on a pig. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fella, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I get a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all that huffing and puffing and blowing your house down. And they made me the big, real bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. And maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. So now I'm going to share my screen with you. I hope you enjoyed that. I always love reading that story. And we're going to look at our Venn diagram and see how, let's see if this works. There we go. See how we can compare and contrast the 2 stories. So the yellow circle that you're seeing is the story of the 3 little pigs. So the wolf huffs and he puffs and he blows the 2 houses down. The pigs all run to their brother's house that's made out of brick. The wolf can't blow down the brick house, and the reader feels sorry for the 3 little pigs when you're reading that story. So the wolf goes up to the first house made of straw, he huffs and he puffs and he blows it down, and that pig runs to the house with the stick, built of sticks. The wolf comes and he huffs and he puffs and he blows that house down. They run to the house built out of bricks. He huffs and he puffs and he can't blow that house down. So you feel bad for the 3 little pigs because this wolf is the big bad bully. Okay, so that's the yellow circle, the story that you probably know. And I just read to you the blue circle. This is the true story of the 3 little pigs. So the wolf accidentally blows the house down when he sneezes from a bad cold. The wolf eats the 2 dead pigs. He doesn't want to waste them. And the 3rd little pig insults the wolf's grandmother. The wolf retaliates and is arrested at the end. So the cops are called and the wolf is huffing and he's puffing and he's blowing the house down. Police found out that he had eaten the other 2 pigs, so he was put into jail. And in this story, the wolf wants you to feel sorry for him instead of the pigs. And then in the middle, if we take yellow and blue and we mix them together, we make green, and that's what the middle of the circle is. So the middle of the circle is how they are the same. And in both of those stories, the wolf visits the pig's house, and in both of the stories, the wolf destroys the pig's house. He blows them down or he sneezes them down. So again, this is called a Venn diagram, and you can take 2 stories, 2 animals, and you can compare the outside, or the comparing is the inside, and then the outside is the contrasting part. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed reading the true story of the 3 little pigs. See you later.